back in.
Hi, my name's Luca. I work at Longtail Studios. They do mobile and DS gaming, some alternative sort of dialogue-based, quirky dating simulator type stuff. A lot of stuff that falls in the casual games market, and plenty of things that would appeal to that growing women's segment of gamers. And I just kind of wanted to follow up a little bit on that question from before. You were talking about mobile growth a good deal earlier, and everybody sees this potential for the women gaming sector to grow tremendously over the next couple of years. How do you feel that distribution and really the games reaching them has to change to bring these new players into the field, as opposed to just sort of waiting for the content to be there and then to naturally gravitate towards it? We've all got stories of bringing our Wii home for Thanksgiving and showing it to the girlfriend, and everybody thinks that it's the best system ever and it's a lot of fun. I still don't know a lot of people that want to go down to Toys R Us, having never played a game before in their life, and want to buy a console and start reading the same websites and really getting so into the culture, and would like an easier way to just sort of casually start taking games bit by bit and see if they like it. And so do you think on the industry side there's a way that you guys envision the game sort of reaching out to this segment as opposed to building the content and letting them come? Yes.
I mean, the short answer is I think, that's why you see a lot of women on the online space. I mean, I don't know the exact numbers, but obviously women surf as much as men do. And there you have a space where they're comfortable, they're used to it. And as a result of that, you see them participating in the gaming world, just like men, or even proportionally even more. So definitely I think, reaching them through a medium that they're used to and that they're, accessible to is key. And online is part of that. Probably a second part of it is the residual sort of gamer of a household where, the boy or the man buy the console, and then the women around them, has the availability of the console so they can play as well.
I think to the first part of your question as well about how do you make it easier for people to get games on the mobile deck. I don't know if there's a good answer for that right now. I mean, a lot of it is driven by franchise recognition. Because it is hard to sort through that deck and look for the needle in the haystack, that great game you've never heard of. And there's no real good solution for that. I think that over time, if you were to get better search tools on your handset, if you were to get a rating system, something like a Netflix rating system that could recommend games that you might like, or even a user rating system, something like a Metacritic or something like that, that would help drive people towards unknown content. There's nothing like that right now.
Why don't they do free trials on the handset?
Well, I think there is a conflict, because you do get some free demos on handset games. The question is, how much do you give people, because they're looking for sort of a snack-sized game to start with. So if you give them a 5-minute, 10-minute trial, maybe they're satisfied and they just move on. So I think that's been the big dilemma. Do you take the risk that people are going to try your game, get what they're looking for, and move on?
Sure.
Or do you give them that experience?
Robert, is Atari spending marketing dollars specifically trying to reach an audience of women, or kind of non-traditional gaming audiences in general?
Well, I'm not in the marketing group, so I probably don't have the exact answer. But certainly, as has been discussed here, casual games, stuff that's going on at Atari.com, we recognize women as being a huge portion of that kind of throughput that's happening there. So yes, vicariously it's definitely happening. Targeting Neverwinter Nights specifically to women's TV or magazines. I don't think that's going to certainly in other ways.
Just back to the $5 million question. I would say that already there's so much great content out there for casual gamers on mobile, which is been due to explode and grow for a couple of years now, along with the women's games market that everybody keeps predicting is going to just one day tip and blow up. And I would venture that the person who actually shows all these people where that stuff is and how they can get it without having to navigate, you know, the godforsaken deck, probably stands to be deserving of that button.
Stuart?
Just a question, you reminded me of my question because it was for the long tail studios. The long tail concept is now very popular, and we talked about how IP is so important, and we're going to do IP so important. But yet, some of you guys, on the panel, you're part of companies that have extremely large back catalog of titles, not just IP in terms of characters, but actual titles. And for the most part, nothing is being done with these titles. And I used to, like in the late 80s, I used to go into GameStop or EB. You can see, let's say, the entire back catalog of Sierra Online on the shelf. Or even, let's say, in the late 90s, I could see the entire back catalog of Humongous on the shelf, which is now part of Atari. Nowadays, you may see like one game, and that's it. From, if you even see an old game at all. Is there something that you guys can see out of an opportunity right now to leverage these old titles? I know if you say the answer is digital distribution, which is what I'm expecting, then why is that being done more aside from a little bit of experiments like Nintendo doing right now with the Wii and the roller coaster?
So the long tail effect and how these companies are trying to take advantage of that, or possibly missing the opportunity.
Well, I mean, the VC, what Wii is doing on the VC and Live Arcade is doing with emulators of all games, I think it probably was an experiment, but it's already proven to be very successful. So I think you're going to see a lot of that, of all games coming back for, with the, you're going to see those games emulated in the new systems and everything that the new systems can add to those games, everything from multiplayer, the new controls, and also you're going to see the games sort of redone, sort of second generation of those games with these new systems and the new capabilities, similar to, for example, what Ubisoft did with Prince of Persia a few years ago. I think publishers are very loyal to their customers and to their brands, so they're very careful before doing, a new, whatever game from the 80s. They're going to be very careful that whatever they do now is going to definitely add a lot to the players, and when that doesn't work, it's very clear, and people just, they can destroy brands very, very fast. So I think you're definitely going to start seeing, especially in the consoles, a lot of the old games emulated, and increasingly more sort of the old games sort of revisited. And definitely all the time, and that's something that's always happens in games, there's sort of a lot of inspiration or reference in old games. So a lot of the new games that you play, come from ideas and plays that people have played in the past.
Anyone else want to comment on that?
We have a large catalog of IP at Atari, and we do, on a fairly regular basis, look at ways to exploit it. It's just, you can kind of wrap up stuff and make gold packs and things like that, but the question of the brand and how sustaining is that over the long term always comes up, and so you kind of pick and choose what you're going to do pretty carefully, so you can kind of protect those IP, Pong or Missile Man or Asteroids and these kinds of games. You want to make sure you make the right call when you're putting an Xbox Live version out, or the PSP or DS version. It's a little bit more tricky than it sounds. One other quick comment on that would be, a lot of times when you see, for instance, DS or PSP version, there are restrictions at the platform holder level on what you can put out. So, Sony's not going to approve just a dump of, almost emulated content. They're not going to approve that. It's not going to happen. Neither is Nintendo. So, there's some restrictions there. So sometimes you don't see stuff. It's not necessarily because the publisher hasn't thought of it. It's just the platform holders are restricted.